Hey, this is Chris Liss of RotoWire TV. I'm here with Jeff Erickson in person this time.
Yes, finally.
Yeah.
Again.
Yes. Hopefully this actually records. I want to talk to you about Mike Trout in particular because I think he's just such a good example of a concept that you hear a lot in our circles, which is regression.
Right.
Okay?
That's been the buzzword this whole run-up. And now, once March starts, I think that changes a lot. The memes change. But when there's nothing going on, before players are actually playing in spring training games, all you hear about is Mike Trout. How much is he going to regress? Is he going to regress? It's almost like the question has already been begged. I mean, everyone says he's going to regress. It's just how much. And that's, and you brought up the good point. What if it's possible that he's got another level left in him?
Right. There's that possibility. But I think it's also, there's just a whole other thing is that I don't think it's just like this is the meme now, and then when we get into like later in spring training, people are going to come off of that. I think there's a lot of people committed to the regression camp. And regression is regression to the mean, right? And the mean is your average performance given your skill set. And the premise is that he performed at the very top end of his skill set. In other words, this was his 90th percentile season, and all of the infinitely many possible seasons Mike Trout could have had in 2012, given his skill set, he performed one of the best possible ones, right?
Or as Ron Chandler says, he thinks it's his 99th percentile season even. So,
right.
The thing is, I want to talk about a lot of these things because I think there's a lot of interesting concepts at work. And I think the regression camp, they're right about a lot of things. I think second-year players probably do regress a lot, but they're not all equal. Not every player regresses the same way. Not every player has the same controlling set. One thing that I kind of been formulating a thought about this is that I think that truly elite players might not have that same sort of regression built in as much. And I think Trout, he's been a blue chip prospect all along. Why can't he be just that higher level where he doesn't regress to the same amount? They don't regress linearly anyhow, but why is the probability of him regressing higher than it is for someone else?
Right. And did Albert Pujols have some collapse after his monster rookie year? Did Miguel Cabrera have a collapse?
Or Ryan Braun? We're still waiting for that regression.
Right. And just like we're still waiting for CC Sabathia's arm to fall, although maybe he did finally get hurt 10 years later.
Right.
Not everybody's the same, right? And even if something is generally true, it doesn't mean it's true in this specific case. Now, I can make the argument for the regression police, and they might say, well, yeah, there's always the outlier, but we can't bet on the outlier. We have to bet on the general rule. And I get that. But I think that the question is, what you said earlier, is regress to what?
Right.
Because clearly, if somebody has a better than average season for his skill set, you don't want to say he's going to get lucky every year. He's going to regress to his mean level of performance given his skill set. But then the next question is, well, what is his baseline? What is his baseline skill set from which we're drawing these 50th percentiles and 30th percentiles and 70th percentile possible seasons? And, I know Ron was talking about it at the First Pitch LA, which was a great event that he hosted. And his argument was, look, before last year, if he prorated Trout to 550 at-bats or whatever, full season is, and last year he wasn't projected to get a full season. Some injuries happened, and he got the full season almost. Then he would have had something like 17 homers and 30 steals and a 275 average. And he says, okay, well, that's what we prorated him to. That's what I'm giving him this year. That's what I'm willing to pay for him. But can we really still look at him as the player that we thought he was before he was a good prospect for the 2012 season, or has he now moved the needle? Is his identity different than it was? And we can't just say, oh, he's the same guy that we thought he was heading into 2012, and he just got super lucky. How about he was a lot better than we thought, and maybe he had his 70th percentile season. Maybe he, did well for him, but how much, the question of how much to regress him really depends on, it's really a question of what is his real baseline.
Right. And I think there's a couple things at play here. One, age. What if he did this at age 27, 5 years into his major league career? No one would think, hey, this is, real regression's coming. This is, they would thought, okay, this is more a case there where he's finally hit his power stride. And it's funny how that could play a whole lot differently there if he had actually had plenty more experience.
Yeah, the other thing is, he's come into camp weighing 240 pounds. Everyone's like, no one can steal bases at 240 pounds. And you look at his, you go to like MLB.com or RotoWire or ESPN, and he's listed at 210. People say, wow, the guy really ballooned up. This is a red flag. Well, he says, I'm only 10 pounds heavier than I finished last year at.
Right.
So everyone's like, where did the 30 homers come from? He wasn't a huge power prospect in the minors. It was Bryce Harper was the big power guy. But if he was really 230 or 225 and we thought he was 210, maybe that explains why he was hitting for a little more power than we expected.
Yeah, we had Jock Thompson from Baseball HQ. He was at that conference. We had him on the show afterward too, and he was saying the same thing. He was saying that there really isn't that much difference. He breaks the HQ lockstep, if you will, and he thinks that he'll be getting Mike Trout number 2, number 3 overall, and he'll be taking that. And he assumes that there's going to be a decent amount of power.